and a warm welcome to one and all present here. Vivekananda Samiti, IIT Kanpur is celebrating 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda through an extensive 4 years program 2011 to 2015. As a part of this celebration, we organized Vivekananda Youth Convention from 12 to 15 January 2012 in IIT Kanpur. There, we had several invited talks by eminent speakers and practitioners, competitions like essay writing, GD, extempore, and a quiz on Indian culture. Besides, we also had some sessions on communication skills, time, and stress management. These activities were mainly focused on various youth-related issues and human values and ethics. They also introduced the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Besides that, last Sunday we organized a health camp in association with Shiksha Sopan and Ramakrishna Mission Hospital in Barasaroi village, where we offered free medication and consultation to over 375 underprivileged children and their family members. Following this idea of service and renunciation as propounded by Swami Vivekananda, we are organizing an eye camp tomorrow at Navsrijan Vidyalaya, Ratanpur, near Nankari. Hereby, we appeal to the campus community that if you know anyone who can avail this opportunity, kindly pass on this message. We also have some pamphlets which will be available with one of our volunteers. You can take them after the talk is over. Swami Vivekananda exhorted looking forward to scientific inventions and discoveries and finding their new solutions to challenging problems. And at the same time, being aware of our rich and glorious cultural heritage and the vast ancient knowledge base. Considering this visionary approach, we are privileged to organize a talk on ancient Indian contributions by a profound scholar and a renowned author, Dr. Premendra Priyadarshi. Dr. Premendra Priyadarshi received his bachelor and master's degree in medicine from Patna Medical College. He is a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh and a member of a large number of professional bodies like Indian Medical Association, Association of Physicians of India, etc. He also cleared the Civil Services examination in 1986 and has served the Pondicherry Police Service for a short while. Besides science, he has thoroughly pursued history, philosophy, religions, anthropology, political science, and linguistics as his personal interest. He has written many books on Indology, namely India's contributions to the West, Zero is not the only story, the first civilization of the world, and Vishva Sabhyata ka Udbhava or Prasar, which is published this year. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Premendra Priyadarshi to give a talk on history of Indian science. Sir.
Thank you, Vivekananda, and the organizers of IIT Kanpur Vivekananda Kendra. I entered into this type of research when I was quite young, 1986, or even earlier, you may say 1975 or so, and started penetrating into it. And finally, I was able to write some papers, some books. My work so far is basically intended, is just the tip of the iceberg. And within the next 20 years, till I live, I won't be able to complete the work. I will be able to complete only 0.5%. So one of the motives of my coming to you is to activate and attract your minds towards the rich subject. History of science in India. These are my two books. Zero is not the only story in this book. One chapter each is devoted to each branch of science and the extent how it was developed during the Vedic period and later with full references. So I will first come to some incredible achievements of ancient Indian scientists. Velocity of light. Shayana Bhashya of the Rig Veda, first chapter, hymn 50, verse 4, gives a velocity of light 300,000 kilometers per second. The thing has been quoted by Raghav Rao, Dr. H.C. Verma of this institute in his Concepts of Physics also he has quoted one paragraph, and in my book also. Then the period of Sayan Bhashya is about 16th century AD. Then I come to the Big Bang theory. The Nasadiya Sukta of Rig Veda deals with evolution of universe, and it describes how from nothingness something could come out. I have discussed it in detail in my book. Here it is enough to just introduce. Now, Vedic astronomy. It is generally held by the historians that the concept of heliocentric solar system. What is heliocentric? Heliocentric means sun is at the center. Before that people thought that okay, earth is at the center. So later Ptolemy devised something and others, and then they say now that the Indians learned it from the Greeks, and the 12 signs of zodiac from the Greeks and Babylonians. Babylonians taught it to Greeks and Greeks taught it to India when Alexander the Great came to India. However, this is all wrong. Dirghatma Sutra. This is not Dirghatma, this is Dirghatama Sukta. Dirghatama means he was a rishi who always meditated at night. Tamas. Dirgha. For a long time he used to look at night. So he was named Dirgha Tamas. So his sukta says, 12 spokes, 1 wheel, navels 3. Who can comprehend this? On it are placed together 360 like Shanku. They shake not in the least. So 360 is clearly the 360 days, and it predates any Babylonian concept of 360 degree in a sphere. 12 spokes clearly gives us an idea of 12 signs of zodiac, Rashi, which we call Rashi. And the wheel has 3 navels. So what are the 3 navels? One axis, that means 3 axes. One axis is diurnal rotation, another is annual rotation, and the third is precession. So this whole thing, wheel, has got 3 types of motions. Precession takes place once in 27,000 years, the cycle is completed. This is a clear mention, although the Western-minded historians have tried to suppress these facts. So another mention of the 12 signs of zodiac we find in Rig Veda 1:164:11. Formed with 12 spokes by length of time, unweakened rolls round the heaven this wheel, the cycle of orderly existence. Herein established, joined in pairs together, 720 suns. Here, in pairs means day and night. 720 divided by 2 is 360. So this is again a very clear-cut mention. Heliocentric solar system. There is some mention in Rig Veda also, although I am not going to mention all the references. I am just going to mention one. In Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 3, 11.1, we find Madhye Sthata. One person asks a Rishi that, Rishi, you have been to the Suryalok. So how is this Suryalok? Then he describes that Suryalok means solar system. By meditation he was able to go out of this worldly existence and experience the truth. That is the meaning. So he said that there is no day nor any night. And sun is the Madhya Sthata, remaining at the center. Moon lighted by sun's light. This is another great achievement of, incredible achievements of Indian scientists. In the Vedas itself, it is mentioned, the moon gets light from the ray of sun named Sushumna. Shukla Yajurved Samhita 18.40, 14. Again, the same verse occurs in Krishna Yajurved Samhita also, 3.4.7.1. Al-Biruni, a Muslim traveler and historian, came about 1000 AD. He also mentions that the Hindus believed when the solar ray meets the moon, the ray becomes as cool as moon itself, then being reflected it illuminates the darkness, makes the night cool, and extinguishes any hurtful kind of combustion wrought by the sun. So even until the time of Al-Biruni, the Indians had a scientific temper, which was only later destroyed. This is incredible in view of the fact that other civilizations thought that sun and moon are just two lamps created by God to illuminate the day and night. Currently available evidence shows that India was the world leader of science from the earliest times, that is Vedic period, until the 12th century. Bhaskaracharya too was the best mathematician and astronomer world over in the 12th century, writes David Duncan in his book The Calendar. By the end of the 12th century, Indian universities at Nalanda, Vikramshila and Udantpuri were destroyed by Bakhtiyar Khilji, propelling India into a dark age of ignorance. And from that time until the birth of Ramanujan in the 19th century, no great scholar, scientist or mathematician was born in India. There were a few, but they were mediocres. They couldn't give anything new. In South, there was, in Kerala, there was Mahadeva and Nilkantha, etc., who continued the process. So, next is, however, some mathematicians and scientists fled to the south, where they continued to flourish as the South of Kerala School of Indian Mathematics. The names are Nilkantha, Mahadeva, etc. And their achievements in mathematics are again incredible. Much of what Newton said was actually invented by Nilkantha, and it went to Europe. In translation, writes George Givris Joseph in The Crest of the Peacock, published from Princeton University Press. The name of the book is The Crest of the Peacock, Non-European Roots of Indian Mathematics. And you all must be knowing the Shulk Sutras. I do not need to dwell on that. It is known today as the Pythagoras' theorem. And in the Vedic text itself we find, although Vedas are no textbooks of mathematics, so we shouldn't try to look into that with that angle, but when we don't have any surviving books, then we are forced to try to find out something. So we find enough evidence to suggest that there was this decimal numbering system, and very astronomical and large numbers were conceived. Now, the oldest textbook of physics available to us today is Kanada's Vaisheshik Sutra or Vaisheshik Darshanam. It is from 6th century BC. Kanada is well known for his atomic theory, but that is a gross injustice done to him. He was a thorough physicist and he discussed everything which we read in physics in class 10 or 12 today. And there is one propaganda that Indians were good at speculative physics like Big Bang and evolution, but they couldn't do anything in mechanics or momentum and this type of things people say, and they're right. But if we go through the Kanada's book, which is available, which is from Chokhamba publication, it is available. It discusses mechanics, hydraulics, electricity, heat, light, and mentions magnet, latent heat I found in it, quantum atom and space, and physical chemistry. Antimatter, most incredible is mention of antimatter, which Kanada says as Abhava Padarth. Today we can say that Abhava Padarth of Kanada is nothing but antimatter, because he says Tada Bhave Samyoga Bhav Pradurbhavascha Moksha. If we dissect the sentence, it becomes Tad Abhave Samyog Bhavo Pradurbhava Cha Moksha. That means the union of Bhava matter and Abhava matter leads to annihilation of both. So this cannot be anything but antimatter. Vaisheshik Darshanam. Kanada mentions magnet too. People think that magnet was not known to Indians till quite late, till 16th century they claim. But there is a clear mention of magnet by Kanada. Manigamanam Suchi Abhisharpanam Adrishta Karanam. When the magnet moves, the Suchi moves also. This is due to invisible cause. Now, this prompted me to do a thorough linguistic analysis of the word Suchi itself, because Suchi means needle, and in Hindi we say Suchak means indicator. So how a needle can become an indicator unless it was used in a compass when the words were being formed in Sanskrit. Suchna, indication, direction. Suchak, indicator. Clearly, Suchi is needle, no doubt. So it indicated the way where to go. But such linguistic analysis have been deliberately avoided by historians. They have concentrated more on horse, which is also wrong. Magnetic compass, again we find mention of magnetic compass by Adi Shankaracharya. In the Shankar Bhashya of Mad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Adi Shankaracharya gives a commentary, and it is a long commentary of that verse. So he says at one place, Brahmakasya loha brahmanena. This he says in context that when you surrender yourself to me, mamekam sharanam vraja, that is the verse. So when you surrender yourself to me, whatever you do is not your work, that is my work, in the same way as the iron which moves following a magnet. The iron is doing nothing, it is the magnet which is doing work. That is the meaning explained in the text. But why does he use the word Brahmak to mean magnet. Brahman, it has been coined out of Brahmaka. Brahmak is a derivative of Brahmak, which means something which helps you in tourism. Brahman is tourism, and people move with it. So we got some idea. Now coming to Vaisheshik Sutra, another verse. One karma is not produced by other karma. I don't know, I cannot say its precise meaning, only a physicist, a student of physics can better tell. But I interpreted it, the Acharya postulates that one karma is energy in his text. One karma cannot produce another karma, energy, directly without intervening work. So now another verse by Kannada, Karya Virodhi Karma, energy is against the work. This means energy and work are equal and opposed. Work done is equal to energy required or energy exhausted. So now I am coming to one example of thorough disposition of a topic by Kannada. This is about this milling process. Sutra 1 says, the self causes the hand to move up. This is the first cause of initiation of the milling process. Effort by hand produces karma in the muscle. At this point, we do not know whether karma means kinetic energy or upward momentum, but we will have to analyze it very carefully. Some scientists can better say. When the muscle falls back on the ukhal, hand is not working. It is also clear to you all because it is a passive verb. When the muscle rebounds upwards after hitting the ukhal, there is no effort by hand. This is again clear, and it is a perfectly elastic collision. When the hand holds the rebounding muscle, a karma is generated in the hand due to contact with the muscle. Here probably he means the muscle and hand combined, composite mass. In this way, karma generated in hand may be either due to the hand's link with the self or due to the link with an object. This is what he interprets about the motion, कि या तो आत्मा से उसको बल मिले या किसी चीज से. Then he mentions exceptions, and here in this verse, contact is the main thing, which he says that contact is essential for transmission of this thing, energy or work. But later, then he clarifies the exceptions, and he mentions that gravitation and magnetism are exceptions to this. And also, when the tree sucks water from ground, that is an exception to visible force, visible contact, that is quite invisible. And when the sun pulls vapor from ground, it is also invisible. So these are, and then he again comes back to Musar. If the hold is lost, object falls because of gravity. So gravity, then coming back to Musal, he says, anything cannot move upwards unless there is applied a critical nodhan. What is nodhan? Is it a delta momentum, change of momentum, or it is a change of force? I think it is a change of, we will read. This concept of critical force, just after the sutra discussing gravity, is significant. It hints that gravity, that is mass multiplied into acceleration or mass multiplied into g, is a particular force. Yes, very important. He says it cannot move unless a particular force is applied. Particular means some particular. If we apply less than that, it won't move. Very important. Very important, fine understanding of science. Now Kanada gives relationship between nodhan and effort. What is nodhan? That may become clear here. A particular prayatna produces a particular nodhan. I have read the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. In 1975 I was cramming and mugging the sentence. I think Kannada also means this. In this, a particular is just word is used to show the proportionality. So probably the people from mainstream science like you need to read and translate the texts. That will be a better justice rather than me translating. Although this article has been published in a recent journal, yet I doubt whether I am 100% correct, because whether nodhan is momentum or change in kinetic energy or whatever. Now I am coming to another thing, samskaara. There is a word used, samskaara, in Vaisheshik theory. And by samskaara they mean after impact, the momentum something receives, that is samskaara in this theory, in their Vaisheshik theory. This is applied to our religion and spiritual aspect. Whatever impact occurs to our life, our mind, it leaves an impact on our personality. And any impact on our personality is a samskara for future. Like somebody as a student, I went to some teacher, and if he shouted, "Oh, rar," that would make me timid and frightened, and that will become a samskara. And then I will always remain frightened in front of a senior. So samskara is a type of momentum given to the personality. So there is a direct, and again karma. Karma is again a very direct application of physics to spiritualism. Like हम जो कर्म करते हैं वो जमा हो जाता है. Whatever karma we do, it goes on accumulating. Whatever kinetic energy we spend, it goes on accumulating as potential energy. So I do karma, and it goes on accumulating as money and bank balance, potential energy. So my potential energy is my bank balance. Another potential energy is my knowledge. If I go on studying, it becomes my knowledge, and by knowledge I can achieve many things. So, physics applied to spiritualism, Indians believe that religion and spiritualism should not be divorced from physics, and that is why this chapter, karma, entered into our lives. Okay, clear? Rate of change of samskara with height in a vertically thrown projectile. This is again an equation which he gives. Rate of change of samskara. If samskara is momentum, then it gives a rate of change of momentum in a vertically thrown projectile. I will not go into a detail, but I will definitely invite some scholar of physics to sit with me sometime, and we can sort out these equations. Three types. Prasar was a follower of the school who came after 1200 years after Kanada. He says samskara is of three types: vega, bhavna or impression, and sthiti sthapak. Sthiti sthapak is form restoring, which is clearly elasticity, but exact correlation will have to be worked out. Another thing, they also talk, the Vaishesikas also talk about vectors. Digvishisht karma padarth nirupanam prakranam, he says digvishisht or niyat dig kriya vishisht. There is a whole chapter on it. So what are the vectors? They had a good understanding. Everything is not a vector. Digvishisht. And in the same chapter they also talk about apeksh gati, relative velocity. And in the relativity itself, that chapter itself, there is a mention that when two masses fuse, are brought together and made one, the resultant mass is less than the original. So, break for 2 minutes, allowing a few questions. कोई है सवाल मन में? थक गया मन?
Sir, to dig into this subject, one should know Sanskrit. Is it?
That is a great difficulty, but Sanskrit is not very difficult, and I have shortcuts. I have formulas how to learn Sanskrit in 20 days. So if somebody is interested, I can help. Basically, you need a Monier-Williams dictionary. On the net you have it. Then you need some basic grammar book so that a difficult word you can always see form. And in that way, I can guide you if you are interested. It is not very difficult. Okay. So now we can proceed. Rediscovering Indian past. मैं थोड़ा पानी पी लूं. So when the British came to India, all the Indian textbooks had already been destroyed. When the Bakhtiyar Khilji did his masterly achievements and exploits, as mentioned by his contemporary Muslim admirers and authors. So nothing was known about our history. We did not know that there was a king named Chandragupta Maurya. We did not know what is Kautilya Shastra. Nothing was known. Some stories in Puranas, and there was a king who lived 1,000 years and his father lived 2,000 years, like that. So the British took the task of unearthing India's ancient past. And how did they do that? You know, when there was invasion, many people ran away out of India to Tibet and other places with books, and Sri Lanka and other things. So books from those countries were translated, and thus Indian history was constructed. Then they did excavations and many things. However, there was a resistance from Western minds to accepting any great achievement to the ancient Indians. So, when it became obvious in the 20th century that zero was invented in India, many Eurocentric scholars staked claims that zero had been invented by the Greeks from the Greek letter omicron in Odin, in the word Odin. Odin means zero, empty. So such manipulations were attempted, and Needham, one scholar, historian is Needham, he finally, when his heart finally choked, he claimed that zero was invented by the Chinese. Huge books in several volumes. I mean, he could not accept that it was invented in India, rather give it to China, but I won't give it to India. But such people have been well criticized by A.L. Basham and Duncan in their books. Okay, so you know the number system is Indian, although it is called Arabic numerals. Our constitution has laid down in Article 343 that it should be called international form of the Indian numerals. Now, binary number system, you know. George Ifra says that binary number system is nothing but a decimal system where instead of 10 we have only 2 numbers. He is perfectly alright, and he says that it is no invention, but it is just shortening of the old one. But actually we get binary number system in Pingala's book, Chanda Sutra. And Pingala, it is 2nd century BC. Pingala existed 2nd century BC. And he has also discussed permutation and combination. Panini was a great grammarian, but it was found that his theory of language is exactly the same language theory which modern computer language, Bacchus Nor form, was the initial computer language, the first computer language is. Both the language theories are the same. So it was renamed Panini Bacchus form. Ingerman proposed it in 1966. And Panini has been listed as a mathematician in a website, St. Andrews University, Mathematics University website. So the question arises that okay, we had a bit of science and it was destroyed, but did West independently develop science, or we gave them some seeds to proceed? So here comes the story of Kanaka. Kanak, you know, Arabs soon after Prophet Muhammad's death, Arabs captured Sindh part of India. I think this rod is very small. So this part came in the Arab rule. In 771 AD, a delegate of Indians went to their Khalifa, because from every state people go to meet the emperor, and the delegate consisted of one mathematician, astronomer also. His name was Kanak, mentioned by Al-Khifti as Al-Qanqah Al-Hindi, the Indian Kanak. Kanak had taken with him a large number of Sanskrit books, and he went there and he told to Khalifa, Khalifa ji, I have brought all these, and this mentions this and this and this application is this. So Khalifa was a person of very high IQ. Khalifa got amazed at this, Khalifa al-Mansur, and he ordered immediate translation of texts into Arabic. He appointed Al-Fazari and Yaqub ibn Tariq. These two people became students of Kanaka. Kanaka taught them not only mathematics and everything, and astronomy and physics, but also taught them Sanskrit to begin with. And this stamp, although you know that they hate making pictures, still this commemorative stamp has been released by government of Syria, Al-Fazari, in memory of Al-Fazari, because it was he who translated everything, and he is the fountainhead of all knowledge for those nations. Okay, most important books in them were Aryabhatta and Brahmagupta's. I will not deal, but it is a very long discussion, and maybe in future I can again, but you can read in my book also. What happened after Mansur. After Al-Mansur, his son Al-Mamun became the Khalifa. He was also a very, very talented person. You know the law of 3 generations or 4 generations. Whenever a great IQ is born, it is inherited for 2-3 generations, and in 4th generation it goes away. 4th generation is lost. This is a fact. Noted. So, Khalifa Al-Mamun ordered that, okay, we have got 4 lakh books, 4 lakh books. So make a library, and a huge library was made in 833. 833 ईस्वी में बहुत बड़ी library बनी. And the library was called Bayt al-Hikmah, the house of wisdom. Hikmah means knowledge, and Bayt is house. Bayt al-Hikmah. Al-Khwarizmi, this is the person, Al-Khwarizmi. He was appointed the chief librarian. And later it became a university, and from Al-Khwarizmi you get the word algorithm. Everybody knows algorithm. So, Al-Khwarizmi translated, and he came to India twice to take more books. And he translated all, and then he synthesized the main points in a book called The Great Sindh Hind. He named Al-Sindh Hind. That is a corrupted version of Siddhant. Sanskrit word is Siddhant. He named it Sindh Hind. I think the mobile is creating nuisance. I should. So even if you make them silent, they do not like silence. So Al-Khwarizmi wrote many books. One of the famous books is, his original books are not available today. All what is available is Latin translation. So he wrote one book. It was translated as Algorithmi de Numero Indorum. That means Al-Khwarizm writing about the Indian numbers. And this became a textbook of mathematics in Europe for about 600-700 years, till the time of Newton. This was the basic textbook of mathematics. So Al-Sindh Hind, one page you can see is still surviving from some Latin translation. In Latin it was translated as The Great Sindh Hind. The Great Sindh Hind is again the English translation of the Latin translation. So there is a large number of intervening translations. Al-Khwarizmi's picture was also made a star recently to commemorate him. Now, how did this knowledge, which became stored in the Arab capital from Baghdad, how did it move to Europe? You know, in this picture you see, the Spain was under the Arab rule at that time. Abdul Rahman III, he was the Khalifa, he decided to make a huge library at Spain, at Cordoba. So it was made, and some 4 or 5 lakh Arabic books translated and copied, some originals and translation as Latin were sent there. So this is the route of transmission of Indian knowledge to Europe. Okay? More universities were soon opened in which copies of these books were sent. Naples, Paris, Bologna. And at Bologna, Copernicus came to study later. And Copernicus gave many theories which ultimately Newton used to give his theories. So you see the chain, and this in the crest of the peak of the book I just mentioned, a link has been traced how Neelkantha's book was also translated and was seen by Newton before he gave his theories. And you already know that Bhaskaracharya in his Goladhyaya, he gave Tatkalik Gati, calculus, d by dt, dx by dt, etc. in detail. The book is available in market. Algebra. Al-Khwarizmi translated Indian books, Bij Ganit, and he gave a book on algebra, which was again translated in Latin, and you see one cover page, Alchimia Jabri Arabis. And from Alchimia is lost and then it becomes Jabri, Jabri, algebra. This is the story. Although they tell you that it is shortened form of Al-Zabr al-Mutabla, but I can see the front cover of the book itself. It is Alchimia Jabri Arabis. So one part is finished. I think how Indian science reached Europe and ignited the European minds so that they became free from religious dogmas by 1600. Before 1600, they lived in a dark age because they thought that only God does anything and it is the God which makes day and night and everything. Even investigating that is heretical, and those people were killed. You know, those who studied mathematics, they have to live secretly. Cipher means secret. So they made secret unions. Those who studied in mathematics and zero, they had to make, because zero was equated with Saturn. Because zero is nothingness, so it must be related to Saturn. So they had secret meetings. This is written in detail in the George Ifra's book. And then cipher came to be known as zero. Earlier it was a secret organization. Now I come to another disputed aspect. कोई सवाल इस स्पीच में? नहीं ना? पूछिए एक दो छोटे छोटे.
Sir, is there any account of experiments done by ancient Indians to unearth the laws of physics?
है. Although no textbook of physics has survived, but in Chandogya Upanishad, you find one father telling his son, "My dear son, you take a pinch of salt, then put it in a glass of water," like that. It is a simple experiment, and so we can say that experimentation. And this is in India. We have been told. I mean, those who read Hindu scriptures, we know that there are three sources of knowledge. One is experience that includes experiment. Anna? Second is from teachers, and third I am forgetting. In some next lecture when I am prepared for that, I will tell you. So, and what is your question, sir?
Why should the destruction of three universities send India into Turkey?
Yes, because what happened, all the books were burned. This didn't happen in India alone. Khalifa Omar invaded Egypt and Alexandria University was burned, and it kept burning for 6 months. And he said that anything which does not agree with Quran, burn that. And anything which agrees with Quran, consistent with Quran, burn that too, because that is superfluous. Okay, this is my order. That is what he said. And similar thing was done in India too. And 6 months Indian libraries also burned, Nalanda, and 50,000 inmates were killed. So naturally, and then again, the medium of instruction is converted into, just like today we read in English, it was converted into Arabic and Persian. So in all schools, you have to read Persian and whatever is in there, and you had some books in Sanskrit. Plus, if you are a graduate in Sanskrit privately from your father or uncle, if you learned, you are not going to get any government job. not even in government school. So why will you read that? Naturally, all learning vanished. I studied because I wanted to earn few rupees to feed my family. Everybody of us, we study so that we can earn something. But if the government becomes alien and your study is not going to fetch any job for you, you will leave that, simply. It is just economics of education. There is a huge economics in education, and that is how we are being anglicized every day because it is more rewarding. Same thing happened then. So, now I am coming to the next point. Did we come from outside? British ethnographers, they divided India into 3-4 racial types. Dravidian, North Indian Aryan, Eastern Mongolian, etc. And Chotanagpur tribals, Proto-Australoid, and each one came from one different country. That meant that about 6,000-7,000 years back, nobody lived in India. I also studied that till recently. So nobody lived in India, then who made the rock paintings in Bhimbetka? Well, they were pre-human ancestors. Yeah, that is what I was taught, we were taught. But thanks to science, and I like the scientists to enter history also. Many of you should come. There is a lot of scope for research. I am touching the tip of iceberg only. And somebody wants, I can give them some topic for further work. It will need several lives. Several lives का मतलब ये नहीं कि उतना का बलि दे दे. So did we come from outside? Can and Stonekin did DNA study and claimed, and Stinger and Andrews, they proposed out of Africa theory that everybody originated from Africa because Africa harbors the oldest human lineages. Maternal lineages they study, mitochondrial DNA, L0, L1, L2, L3. Okay? These are not found outside Africa. So, an initial way out of Africa was proposed कि वहाँ से निकला तो कैसे जाएगा, सुएज कैनाल होके गया और उधर से इधर आके और सेंट्रल एशिया जाके they divided and fanned out into different directions. Okay? And excited by this finding, Colin Renfrew gave a theory, every language originated in West Asia, Turkey to Baghdad. All the 4 major Afro-Asiatic, Elamo-Dravidian, Dravidians also came from there, Aryans also came from there, Altaics went to Central Asia, and Colin Renfrew was called as the chief guest when we recently celebrated the 100th or 150th foundation year of Archaeological Survey of India. The thing is, we Indians do not read who is writing what. I mean, you should not have been given this honor to give a guest lecture. But soon, the West Asian route was ruled out by further DNA studies. Okay? Many, I can't cite them all, papers came. They found that West Asia is a later population. It has been populated from Indian migration to West Asia. And this is the latest picture, most scientific. You know, somebody knows DNA recombination, crossing over, somebody? जानते हैं क्या? What is crossing over? बताइए?
the DNA from two different species, not a species, it's individual, come and then there is a recombination of those genes.
It's transfer some genes from one chromosome to
During meiosis. Transfer of the. So the cut point will vary from generation to generation. It is not a fixed point. Okay? But the new combination, इसका पूंछ जुट गया इसके धड़ से, this new combination can be traced even 200, 500 generations later also. It was a very difficult and expensive study supported, financed by IBM, and it found this is the root of human origin and migration. This is the map from National Geographic. Has nothing to do with saffron or any Indian nationalist party. Now, most incredible part, I have been telling it for last 25 years, nobody was believing. Everybody said that Manipuris and Nagaland people, they came from China. Somebody would say 700 years back, somebody more kind would say 2000 years back. But you see here, these did not come from China, they are ancestors of the Chinese people. Arunachal, this is in Arunachal, this is Nagaland, and this is from here that they have been derived. So ultimately everybody except the Africans, they are Indians. Okay? Any doubt?
Africans also came to India. Is it so?
Africans came to India, yes. About 50% came. They were the first settlers. See, sorry. There was no mankind outside Africa. About 100,000 years back. They lived here. Then about 50 people maximum came in only one wave through this way here, and then they lived here for some time. Then first wave went down this route, first wave. Then there was Toba volcano eruption, many people died, I will not go into detail. Then repopulation occurred, and then they went to everywhere else. And then they came back to Africa also. This point is well known to the scientists, but not well known to the public. Only 8% of African population is original African. Remaining is a back migration from India.
Where this migration started from India? Why and when the people went out of India?
Yes, very good question, and a lot of work, a thesis can become written on that, but I have done some work on that. Migration starts whenever a population reaches carrying capacity of the area. Every area has a carrying capacity for a given type of ecological or earth vyavastha, whether it is a hunter or gatherer or whatever. So, there were many glaciations. We are concerned with only 3 major glaciations. I will come to that now, okay, that will help. Migration maps. When this journey is taking place, this is from Stephen Oppenheimer's website. When this journey was taking place, obviously more northern regions were cold. It was a type of some glacial period where only equatorial portions were hot enough where man could live comfortably. Why? Because man needs something to grow. If there is no sunlight, if it is very cold, nothing will grow. Okay. This is the journey, first journey outside of India. This is a composite picture of all migrations given by Metz Palu. then again same repetition of the same thing. Now, this was 74,000 years back to 65,000 years back, was the worst glacial phase we can think of. 74,000 years back, Mount Toba, a volcano in Sumatra, erupted, and the whole direction of its flow, I do not know why, some geologists can tell better, the flow was directed towards India. So, India was covered with a 6-meter high tephra deposit, maybe ash. Tephra means ash, I think. So tephra was deposited over 6 years of time, and the sky was covered so much that it became dark, and it became shivering cold within seconds, and people died. At least, as per my calculation, about 1 million people lived in India then. They all died and 1,000 people survived. And this whole thing is led the universe, whole universe, into a hyper cold stage. Hyper cold is again a technical word. It lasted for 1,000 years. And after 1,000 years, then again a 10,000 years, 8,000 years long glacial phase started. And when this glacial period ended, only 1,000 persons came out of that. तो 10,000 साल बाद भी 10,000 आदमी बचे थे भारत में. 1,000 in India and 10,000 in Africa. Dog. And I have proposed that man could not have survived without dog during that dark age. So he must have been domesticated before that. इतना खतरा में जूझ रहा था, कैसे जी रहा था. It makes my heart bleed for my ancestors. And then I think that is why we pay our homage to our ancestors for 15 days every year, 14 days every year. That they suffered a lot. Terrible misery, how did they live? Oh. किसी तरह बच गए, खत्म हो जाते तो the story would have ended and we would not have been standing here now. But I think they faced and tackled the whole thing very intelligently. And that is why I say that they were already intelligent 75,000 years back, as intelligent as we are today. And therefore, they must have been speaking. Intelligent है, बोल नहीं रहे. It makes nonsense that somebody is intelligent as we are, but they were not speaking. They were speechless, just using this. So I don't think they were speaking at least 100,000 years before today. And we have inherited their language because I have been able to show that there are some words which are present in all the languages of the world. Not only me, Bengston and Ruhlem has traced 35 words which are present in all the languages of the world. And I have traced quite common words like, bahin, sister, and it is present in whatever language I have studied. Not for sister, in some language it means mother, in some language it means wife, woman, simply woman, like that. But it is there. So now you see the map, road map. This is again Stephen Oppenheimer's 60,000 years back. One batch of Indians start across Iran and settle in Iraq. Then 52,000 years before present, some of them reach South Europe. About 40,000 years before present, it becomes quite warm. So China, Tibet and many places, northerly regions become habitable. So some people, Africa is a desert and deserts are very bad during cold periods. So when it became warmer, some people entered North Africa as well. North Africa, Spain, some people from Punjab, Pakistan, crossing Kashmir, they reached Central Asia, and from there to China, and further time passes and they all fuse in Mongolian region, and then some go to cross the Bering. I haven't listened and brought all pictures, but the cross Bering. Now implications for linguistics. Cavalli Sforza noted that the DNA branching and language branching of the world, they overlap. And he made a table, and the DNA lineage and this, and it overlap very much. So possibly all the people of world, just like they are derived from one ancestor, the language is also derived from one. So he made a family tree of languages and named it Eurasiatic, European and Asiatic.